Good evening. It is Wednesday, September 14th, 2016 at 7:01 p.m. This is the Plan Commission of the City of Evanston. I am Jim Ford. We have a quorum, so I will call the meeting to order. Are there changes or additions to be made in the agenda? Hearing none, then the agenda will stand. You have the minutes of the meeting of August 10th. Are there additions or corrections to be made to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Goddard, Belisle. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. We have before us one piece of old business, proposed text amendment on transit-oriented development parking requirements. This is a continuation of that matter from the August meeting. And I believe what we want to do now is remove it from the agenda. Megan, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. Just a real quick kind of overview or a summary of where we are now. Staff did bring the proposed text amendment and the corresponding parking study to the Parking and Transportation Committee meeting on August 24th. There was a pretty extensive conversation, so much so to the point that we didn't get through the full conversation that we wanted to have. So there were a good amount of comments as well as some questions and concerns that were brought up. So there was a request of staff and the consultant to provide some additional information to the committee, so the committee ultimately voted to continue that item. So now staff is working with the consultant to get that additional information. We are hoping to get all of that completed and bring that back to the Parking and Transportation Committee by the end of the year. And once they have a chance to look it over and review it and provide their recommendation, then we'll bring it to Plan Commission.
So we will remove this matter from our purview at this point, and you will renotice it when you bring it to us, whenever you bring it to us.
That is correct.
Okay. Let's see. Do we need a motion to do this?
No.
Demir says no. We don't. All right, then, new business. A zoning ordinance text amendment. An amendment regarding the inclusionary housing ordinance bonuses. This is case number 16 PLND 0081. Zoning ordinance text amendment pursuant to City Code Title VI to codify regulations and bonuses to match the regulations established by the City of Evanston's inclusionary housing ordinance. Let me ask, Jessica, you want to speak on this or no? Okay. There being no public who wish to speak, then I will dispense with the rules and regulations, and we will proceed directly to the project. So, Megan, you going to present this?
Yes. Well, before the commission this evening is the zoning text amendment for inclusionary housing ordinance or IHO bonuses. Just a quick overview of the inclusionary housing ordinance. The updated ordinance was approved by City Council on November 23rd of last year and went into effect of January 1st of this year. The ordinance actually affects developments that contain 5 or more dwelling units if they are within TOD or transit-oriented development areas, and affects developments containing 10 or more dwelling units if that development is outside of a TOD area. Generally speaking, the IHO regulates the affordable housing contributions and also provides for some incentives or bonuses for developments that provide on-site affordable units. And what's listed here is a summary of those bonuses. They affect the density, height, floor area ratio, and the parking for those developments. And as you can see, if that particular development is within a TOD area, the bonus is greater than if that development were to be outside of a TOD area. And the first project that actually fell under the revised ordinance was the 824 Noy Street PD, which was actually in front of the commission and recommended for approval last month. So these particular bonuses have already been put in place, and we are actually using these bonuses now. So this evening, we are proposing to take the bonuses and some of the definitions that were included in the IHO and put them into Title VI, which regulates the zoning. And just a brief summary of those amendments, we would be adding a new inclusionary housing bonus section for each of the zoning districts that allows residential uses. And that will outline the bonuses that I mentioned previously, as well as in the case of planned developments, it would clarify that the IHO bonuses would be applied prior to the site development allowances for that particular planned development. We would also be adding definitions for transit-oriented development, TOD area, and transit station. And we would be adding a note to the chart that actually lists the minimum off-street parking requirements, and that would basically direct developers or whoever's interested in building some kind of residential or mixed-use development, and that would direct them to the IHO bonus section that we would be adding. So that's just a very brief summary of the amendments that are in front of the commission this evening. The standards for the amendments, the one that actually applies would be whether or not the proposed amendment is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Comprehensive General Plan as adopted and amended from time to time by the City Council, and staff feels that that has been satisfied. So with that.
Now, if I understand it then correctly, if we were not to adopt these amendments to the zoning ordinance, we would have a zoning ordinance which was inconsistent with the IHO.
That would be correct.
Okay. Questions then for staff? Commissioner Belisle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering if, since it is not in the zoning ordinance right now, how is it referred to, and are we duplicating by putting it in the zoning ordinance? If it does, is there something that already says go see the IHO for this part of it?
At this time within the zoning ordinance, I don't believe there actually is any kind of statement that
No reference. or
directs
anything
us
to- Okay.
to the IHO that's within the code. So this particular amendment would put it in a place where it would be more easily accessible. So as a developer or someone is coming in and trying to get information about what they can and can't build, all that information would be in one place and it'd be easier to actually access.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lewis.
So I just have a slew of questions, but I'm just going to ask one at
Oh.
a time. So can you fill us in a little historically how bonuses have been given to, housing, and is it discretion of the staff, or do they follow the regulation, or how has it been done in TODs before, or?
Are you referring to
So-
specifically
So
for
like
the
the Maple,
IHO?
like the
or-
Maple project, there were certain bonuses given, there was nothing identified strictly for having low-income housing in it? Or what's been done before?
Well, that particular development didn't fall under the updated IHO, so with regards to those bonuses, they didn't necessarily come into play yet. Staff, generally speaking, has been trying to approve projects and if possible, have conversations with developers that encourage more mixed use and denser developments near transit stations and things like that. So while it's not necessarily been something that's specifically codified, it's definitely something that we've been in practice trying to do.
Would it be useful here to distinguish between bonuses and allowances? That these bonuses that are suggested here are almost matters of right. If you build the required number of affordable units, then you get the bonuses. The allowances, which have been included in the plan development requirements, are discretionary on the part of us or the council. Yes?
That would make sense.
Staff, all nod your heads.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
So I think along those lines, if a developer forgoes these bonuses by not including housing, affordable housing within their project, they are not limiting staff's ability to give, what were the two terms? There were allowances and bonuses. So allowances.
They would still be able to have those site development allowances, but the bonuses that we're proposing to put into the zoning code would not apply.
Okay.
If they didn't have those on-site
So then you
affordable
had
units.
some language about that these bonuses will be before any something or other. Does that, in essence, raise the baseline of the density and et cetera that you're then playing from in your allowances? Or is it also just seen as when you do the allowances, you're still going back to the what was the base zoning, underlying zoning?
Well, if I'm correctly interpreting what you're asking, if a development isn't proposing to use those particular bonuses, then they would just have the site development allowances. It wouldn't necessarily just automatically raise the bar, especially if they're not providing the on-site affordable units.
But if they do provide it, then the baseline all increases per this 20% in density, 10% in height, and any other equations that are applied per the zoning for height are based on the 10% increase, say the height, which is in the downtown district is applicable. You would be doing your math from base zoning plus 10%. So,
Right.
okay, so not just going back to base zoning.
Right.
Okay. All right, so you get incrementally a little bit more, and then that's the way it would behave. Okay.
I've got a light, but I don't know whose it is. Oh, Peter? Commissioner Isaac?
So when reading these proposed sections to the zoning ordinance, I note that there is a clause that says any covered development as defined under City Code, Section 573, providing on-site affordable units, and that is otherwise compliant with the city's IHO. So does that mean that your intention is the bonuses would only apply if the units were provided, as opposed to a developer that came in and said, I'm willing to make the cash payment in lieu of providing the affordable units?
Right. This applies to developments that are providing the on-site affordable units.
So you
If there's a
couldn't,
fee in lieu, they would not get those bonuses.
you couldn't pay for these bonuses?
No.
You have to provide the affordable housing?
Right.
Okay.
So clearly, what council's trying to do here is to get people to build the units rather than pay the money.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
yeah. Commissioner Goddard?
This may be me, but I'm confused on what we're supposed to be approving tonight. Are we just approving a set of bonuses that have already been approved by the city council, or are we setting the actual numbers that the city council is then going to approve? Is it worth our time to spend talking about this, or is it Are we just rubber stamping something that they've
We are-
decided?
We are not discussing changing the numbers, so to speak, since those have already been approved. We are tonight discussing the text amendment to actually include those bonuses within
Okay.
Title VI, which is the zoning code, because they aren't there currently.
Because the ordinance requires that we consider any amendment to the zoning ordinance, that's why we get them.
So do you want a motion?
Playing on Carol's comment, so the guts are established, so it's just how it's written that we're actually, because I have, there is this duplicated language in 4 or 6 sections that always is bothersome to me. Why not have a housing section that each one of the zoning ordinances refers to for those bonuses? How it's written, is now, seems to be the next level. If the guts are already, decided, then how it's written, maybe is the, and again, this is one of those not easy to manage throughout time ways that I perceive it being written into the ordinance. So I'm wondering if you can address your logic in writing it into each of the zoning sections, duplicate language that can, in theory or possibility, migrate away from each other in the future, as opposed to having one reference section.
That's actually a good point. I mean, the idea that we had was to explicitly list each of the bonuses and have all of this information within each residential section, because we do realize that developers or whoever is coming in attempting to construct a development is not necessarily going to look throughout the whole ordinance, especially if they aren't consulting with us initially. So we want to make it where things are just easily accessible, especially if they're looking at what the zoning is. So it's clearly listed under what they're looking
So,
for.
but if that was cited, as, bonuses for affordable housing, whatever the term, the initials acronym is in the section, and it said C section, bonuses for C section, something or other, then it would always be referred to within each zoning section, and they would just go to one place then to see how the bonuses were applied.
So what's bothering you is the fact that it's being
bulk.
included in, somewhere in the residential section,
Yes,
and in business, and in commercial, and in downtown.
yes, yeah. I guess it's just.
Tempted to say, welcome to the Evanston zoning ordinance. but
Right,
I wouldn't say
exactly.
that.
But we spend some time, I know, on the rules and things, trying to eliminate that kind of all over the place language and things. So I'm just putting it out there for consideration, I guess. So as a.
I mean, I definitely can see your point with regards to that. But we also have something similar with planned developments, where a lot of the language is similar, until you get into the specifics of each particular zoning district. So this is not necessarily going to be something that's new to the zoning code. It is just
Yeah,
to
I
be as
see.
clear as possible.
But the only difference in all of these that I could see is this reference in the B item where it says development allowance as set forth in 6-8-1-10, and then in the next one it says in section 6-9-1-9,
Right.
and that's the only difference between every one of them. So I'm wondering what, it's just some sense of economy. If there were slight differences, I could see them varying, and being placed within each zoning section, but it appears there isn't any, so.
There's probably no reason
Yeah.
why we couldn't, in the course of approving these, recommend, maybe it's lucky that Mario isn't here tonight, recommend to the law department that they figure out some cleaner way to do this, and as long as we have approved the substance, and as long as we have approved something which could be plugged directly into the zoning ordinance where it needs to be, then it becomes a matter for the law department and the council to say, well, yeah, we would like it cleaner. I don't see any, we could do that, couldn't we? Do whatever we want.
Absolutely.
No.
Do whatever they want.
Are there other comments on this? Colby, your light's still on.
Oh,
Are you
I'm
still
sorry.
thinking?
No, I'm not thinking.
Okay. Somebody want to, Simon?
I just want to say, as Commissioner Lewis was saying, each section A starts with any covered development, and then in B we go residential and then business. And can we just keep the any covered development and try to clean it up that way?
I'd rather not try to clean it up
Oh, no,
here on
but-
the fly.
No,
but-
no, no, I
But
agree.
urge the law department to see what they can do.
Because it's a matter of 3 words, and I think they can do it.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, somebody want to move something? Commissioner Goddard, were you going to move?
I am going to move. I'm just going to try to get I move we accept the recommendations for the zoning ordinance text amendment, inclusionary housing density bonuses, 16 PLND 0081.
There's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Isaac. Is there discussion on the motion? This is going to council, so let's do a roll call.
Mr. Chair, do we need to add a condition that they redo it, or it's more in the, how it's going to happen after we approve it, I guess?
Staff, will you communicate the sense of the commission that this could be cleaned up to the law department?
Definitely.
He's not going to be there. He's gonna leave.
I'll do that.
My first screw up on this one. Okay. Thank you, Megan. Call the roll.
Commissioner Belisle,
I
Commissioner Goddard,
Aye.
Commissioner Isaac,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown, Chair Ford.
Aye. 6 ayes, no nays. The motion is approved. Thank you all. Are there progress reports, anticipations of what's coming down the line, anything that we need to know?
I can give you a quick update on A24 noise. On Monday, that went before Planning and Development Committee and was introduced to City Council. They did recommend that it be introduced to Council. There was generally good reception for the project. There was a lot of question regarding the parking, especially the condition that was placed that would prohibit the residents of that building from obtaining on-street parking permits. So the committee had several questions regarding the parking that's available there and what may or may not be able to happen with regards to parking on-site and off-site for that development.
Did you have a sense that there were some aldermen who, in fact, didn't like the restriction?
It was kind of hard to tell. It seemed like, generally speaking, they just wanted to have a bit more information regarding what was and was not available for parking in that area before they made a decision. It was more so wanting to make sure they made an informed decision about it.
Okay.
So, Chairman, can I ask, there was some question when we left it whether this development was within the A zone or not, and I'm sorry I wasn't present last meeting, but was it determined whether this development was actually part of, in the restricted zone or, and able to, I know that would have been a question for staff, whether the residents were actually allowed to apply for a permit, yeah?
Yeah,
Because-
as the code is currently, that building, as it currently is not allowed on-street parking permits, but even with the new development, it would not be allowed or the residents rather, wouldn't be allowed to obtain on-street parking permits. They would have to go through the process to amend either the A or the G district to be included.
So they're outside the boundary anyway.
Right.
As it stands now. Yeah. Okay.
And then for the next meeting in October, we had a reference from one of the aldermen to look into making residential care homes Category 1 a special use in the R1 district. So we are doing some research on that now, and we'll bring that before the commission next month.
No development projects close enough to the front of the pipeline that we're liable to see them then?
There's a couple that might be there come November, maybe December.
Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Latinovich, do you want to address us? Or can we just adjourn and pretend
Can we just
it's
throw
not
apples
happening?
and tomatoes at you?
Talk to us.
Thank you, Chair Ford. For the last time, Demir Latinovich, Planning and Zoning Administrator. I'd indicated to some of the commission members earlier that I've accepted another position, and I will be leaving City of Evanston end of this week, actually. Friday is my last day, so I wanted to formally inform all of you that this is going to be my last Plan Commission. I have had nothing but joy working with you guys. We've had short nights, we've had long nights, but all of them have been really fun and challenging, and it's been a privilege to work for the City of Evanston. All you live here, so you know how great the community is. I've been here now for three years, and it's been just a pleasure. The diversity of projects, the complexity of the university, the community, and the diversity of its residents and stakeholders really make it a fun place to work. I mean, I knew that no matter where I go, I will not have a community that provides this type of diversity in terms of planning projects and zoning tasks. So I've really enjoyed my time in the last 3 years. I think, as you guys know, I started on the Plan Commission as a land use planner, and I've really enjoyed this commission more so than any, maybe because I started out as a land use planner on the board. But it's been a pleasure, and I will thoroughly miss working with every one of you. So with that, hopefully our paths cross in the past or in the future, as we did in the past. And with that, good luck and keep in touch. Thank you.
Commissioner Ford, I'd like to make a motion. Well, no, it's a very good motion.
Hold the motion for just a minute.
So,
Okay, go ahead. Make the
so
motion.
I would like to make a motion that we give Demir a big round of applause and a thank you. Can we?
Second.
Okay.
Or a discussion on the motion. Yeah, I got a couple things I want to say.
Okay. All right.
I spent much of my career doing what Demir has been doing, being responsible for the care and feeding of part-time commissioners who had their own values and their own interests and their own schedules and often their own agendas. And the task was to try to help them to think wisely together. And it is a matter of providing good information and thoughtful guidance, and it takes thoroughness and steadiness and patience, a lot of patience. And Demir has done this job with an extraordinary degree of professionalism and with great good humor. He has made my life not only easier but more pleasant. I count you a friend, and I'm going to miss you. And I hope Elgin knows what they're getting. And if you have any problems out there, call us. Thank you. That said, on the motion,
Second.
all in favor?
I-
Opposed? None. Thank you. And with this, do we have a motion to adjourn? Or let's treat that as the motion to adjourn, a rising motion to adjourn. We will stand adjourned.